Hello, everyone. Welcome to the podcast on Let's Talk Health. I am Satvinder Singh, founder of Target 100 Years, a reliable health portal that provides researched articles on food, mind, health, and body. All our content is research based and vetted by health experts who provide them with credibility. Today's podcast is dedicated to female health, specifically catering to pregnant females and those who are breastfeeding their babies. Pregnancy can be stressful even under normal circumstances, but during the ongoing pandemic, the anxiety can increase exponentially. AIMS, which is the premier health institute in the country, has also said that it expects a rise in cases of pregnant women with COVID in the coming months. Since pregnancy comes with significant changes in the body, including the immune system, it is important to take extra precautions to avoid catching this infection. There are also concerns on how risky the pregnancy would be and if the child's health would be fine, if the mother can transmit infection to the baby in the womb. So, today we have a perfect guest with us to clarify all our doubts. Dr. Harpreet Kaur is an experienced gynecologist and obstetrician based out of Panchkula. She has an experience of over 14 years in this field. She has been a trusted advisor to over hundreds of females across multiple states in the country. Dr. Harpreet currently practices at a multi speciality hospital in Panchkula. She is passionate about solving infertility and PCOD related problems. She is an MBBS from Guru Gobind Singh College, Faridkot, Punjab. She holds a diploma in gynecology and obstetrics from CMC Ludhiana and is a DNB, again in obstetrics and gynecology from St. Theresa's Hospital, Hyderabad. Hello, Dr. Harpreet. Welcome to this podcast and thank you very much for giving us this time.
Thank you, Satvinder. Let's start our discussion.
So, Dr. Harpreet, the first question that I have with me is the transmission of COVID-19 possible from placenta in mothers to, and can it be passed on to the kids?
Actually, now according to the recent ICMR guidelines, according to the studies, they have found that with regard to the vertical transmission, the transmission from mother to baby, antenatally means during pregnancy or intrapartum means during delivery. Yes, it is now emerging as a new thing. Right. But how much proportion of the pregnant ladies will get this? It is still not clear, but yes, it can.
Right. So earlier the study stated that it did not, but now the latest ICMR studies are saying that there is a possibility or there have been few cases.
But how much is the proportion? We don't know. But yes, it can be transmitted at the two levels. It can be transmitted during antenatal. Antenatal means when the lady is pregnant. And intrapartum also it can be transmitted. Intrapartum means when the patient is delivering. Okay. During labor or during section. Yes.
Okay. All right. All right. Next question around the same point is what is the impact that COVID may have on fetus? And if a pregnant lady is found to have it at early stages, what does it mean for her health and that of for her kids?
I will be talking according to the recent data we have, right? Mm-hmm. So there is no data which says that there is an increased risk of miscarriage or the virus is teratogenic. Teratogenic means it has structural abnormalities in baby. There is no data. Right. So many of the ladies are coming to our clinic to say, ma'am, if I am COVID positive and I am running through my 7th week or 8th week, if my baby does not form well, please, I will like to go for a DNC. I don't want this baby. I always say it. Virus is not causing any structural problem in your babies. It is not teratogenic. Right. But the coronavirus, according to the new things, which is a SARS or MERS type of a coronavirus, there are different strains. I'm talking about SARS and MERS. It has a risk to mother in particularly last trimester, not in the first or second trimester, which causes the risk of preterm births. Right. So if the chances of preterm births are more, but the risk of, if you say it causes teratogenicity or it causes structural abnormalities in fetus, no, it does not cause that impact.
All right. So, in a nutshell, the kids' health or the kids are perfectly fine in the womb, but at the same time, the only impact that it may have is that it may lead to an early birth of the child.
Yeah, it
It has.
has contracted preterm births in last trimester, and
Okay.
nowadays this main problem is that there will not be structural damage will not be there. Like people are worried whether my baby will be mentally retarded or whether my baby will be physically handicapped. No, it does not cause a physical handicap or a mental handicap. Does not.
Also, that's a good news for all the parents out there.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. Moving on to the next point, doctor. What are the protocols that have to be followed? Are there any set protocols which have been provided by the government for pregnant females?
If they are COVID positive.
Right, right. If the COVID positive, and also in a scenario where they females, they themselves are not COVID positive, but there is a COVID positive patient in the house.
Okay. So we will divide it into two. If the patient is fine, but if she has a contact of COVID positive patients in the same household. So if the patient herself is negative, fine. So she can be only isolated
Right.
with only precautions of that she should be away from that person. She should be isolated,
Mm-hmm.
and she should what how play the progress of charting her own baby's kick count and all. Like, how do we know that a baby is fine inside? We always tell our patients, please count the kick to the count 10. If your baby is moving 10 to 12 times in a day,
Mm-hmm.
so without even going to an obstetrician, you know your baby is fine.
Okay.
Secondly, regularly check with the pulse oximeter.
Mm-hmm.
If is systolic, there are two types of BP, systolic BP and a diastolic BP. Systolic is the upper one, diastolic is a down one. If your systolic BP is good, like it is more than 100, your respiration is less than 22, fine. You don't have fever, you don't have cough, you don't have any other symptoms. So you should not panic. You just stay at home, you be in an isolation for 14 days,
Mm-hmm.
but you maintain good hydration, right? So
Okay.
any if you develop any symptoms, like you develop fever more than 38 degrees centigrade or 98.6,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or if you have any cough, fever, persistent cough rather, you know, or if your saturation goes below 94%, or your respiration goes more than 22, or your conscious level is not maintaining well, or your BP goes, the upper one goes below 100, then you need to see some doctor. You need to go to a hospital. Otherwise, don't go out in this COVID.
Right.
Just see that you are monitoring yourself well, you are well hydrated, there is no fever, there are your parameters are well controlled. So don't panic, just stay at home.
Okay, okay. So protocols more or less remain the same. That is the same level of isolation you need to maintain, but at the same time, the health parameters are also similar to what other patients are there for. For
Yeah,
example,
yeah, yeah. So if your husband or your kids or your parents or they are COVID positive and you are doing well, you just need to isolate yourself. And if that pregnant lady is COVID positive herself,
Mhm.
then also you have to just check for these three or four things.
Okay.
One, she has to see for the respiration rate. I told you,
Mhm.
respiratory rate, if it is less than 22, that means you are breathing normal. You are not hyper breathing,
Okay.
you are
All.
not hyperventilating,
Mhm.
right? If your BP is maintaining well, you do not have fever, you do not have cough, you do not have any other respiratory symptom, and you are walking. There is one test which is called 6-minute walk test, right? You
Right.
measure your oxygen saturation with an oximeter and then you walk for 6 minutes. If
Okay.
your saturation falls by 3%, that
Mhm.
means you have a problem. If it is maintained well, that means you do not have any problem. Just sit at home nicely. There is no need of fanning. Do not go outside.
Okay. All right. All
So
right.
this is called a 6-minute walk test.
Moving ahead, doctor. Now, when for the delivery, Are there separate centers, as a lot of the current existing infrastructure is currently being focused on treating the
Yeah, yeah,
hospitals, but for delivery,
yeah,
separate hospitals for females now?
yeah. This is actually this is a very good question. These days we are really facing this question a lot. Our patients come to us and say, "Ma'am, I have been showing to you all these 9 months, and unfortunately, if I have COVID, so will you deliver me?" I want to say that all private hospitals are not entitled to deliver a COVID patient. Why? Because when we deliver a COVID patient, then the blood is smeared with COVID virus, right? The
Right.
secretions are smeared with the COVID virus. So it has to be a complete COVID setup so that to protect the people who are conducting the delivery,
Hmm.
so as to what the government has said, there are certain centers which have been set up by government all over India, in every city, in every district. They have just shortlisted some of the government centers,
Right.
right?
Right.
So if you develop COVID near your delivery, just call your practitioner, just call your private practitioner. Madam, I have developed COVID, my delivery date is near, please tell me what to do. So your doctor only will tell you according to your place of jurisdiction where you can delivery in a government setup. Suppose you are living in a city in area A,
Okay.
and one patient is living in area B. So
Right.
there are three centers which are A, B, and C, which have different hospitals. If you are in B, so you will go to that area B.
All right.
So this is how the government has simplified the thing, that whosoever is from that area, they
Mhm.
have entitled certain government hospitals. The doctor just has to write, I have been treating this patient for 9 months. This
Mhm.
patient has COVID positive, so I'm referring this patient to your center, as our center is not government approved COVID center. That's it. So
Okay.
they will take up the patient and the patient can be nicely delivered there.
And just a follow-up question on this one is, when whenever a patient is coming for delivery, there is a mandatory COVID test. What is the time before that delivery that the doctors are sort of considering? Is it that you have to take it at that point of time, or it's a test that you would have done 1 day or 2 days before?
If a patient comes in a labor, right, we do not have that time for RT-PCR because it takes 1 or 2 days, right? In
Mhm.
that case, we are doing antigen test. Antigen test just comes in 15 minutes. You take the patient, you take the patient inside. Meanwhile, you take the COVID test. The test will come in 15 minutes.
Hmm.
So if a patient is laboring patient, or you do not have time, just go for a COVID antigen,
Right.
right?
Right.
But if a patient is a planned one, like the patient was previously, the patient had cesarean, and now also the patient will be having cesarean, so you know that patient will be posted for cesarean tomorrow,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you have that time with you, you know that date, so you send the test 2 days prior, so that you get that RT-PCR report.
Okay. Okay. So
but
2 days.
but in emergency, yeah,
Two
but
days.
in an emergency situations, you go for an antigen.
No, that's that. I think that's very vital information for the patients, because that's a time for a lot of panic for pregnant women and along with their families. Uh, Also, in this case, I mean, is any delivery better, be a normal delivery versus a cesarean delivery? Is any guideline around that for a COVID positive patient?
Yeah, I will like to tell you one thing. Like, if a COVID-19 patient is in a worse situation, like a worsening situation, then obviously that 6 minute test I already told you. है
Hmm.
ना? A
Yes.
patient cannot even walk for 5 to 6 minutes. Her saturation will fall. How will she be able to conduct a normal delivery, which is going to take hours, right?
Right. Right.
So in that situation only, when the patient condition is not well, we
Mhm.
try to take out the baby fast by section and shift the patient to ICU so that mother and baby both can be saved separately.
Okay.
Fine. So that mother can be given adequate treatment and the baby can be given the adequate treatment. Fine. But otherwise, if the patient is asymptomatic, suppose the
Hmm.
patient had COVID 1 week before and now the symptoms have settled and patient has started with labor. So
Right.
then we will continue with labor. We will deliver the patient.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it all depends upon the patient condition. If my patient's respiration is not well, she is not breathing properly, can she take the labor? She cannot.
You know.
So it is just by seeing the patient. If the patient is stable, we can go for delivery. If the patient is not stable, then the choice is between not about delivery. It is about saving the life of a female.
Right.
Then we have to take out the baby and we will shift the patient directly to the ICU as early as possible and try to recover her by giving her good oxygen, by giving her all the things. Because when the baby is inside, we cannot give her all the things, all
Mm-hmm.
the medicines, right?
Right. Okay. Moving on to the next step after, let's say the baby has been delivered.
Yeah.
What about lactation? Is it safe for COVID mothers with or without being vaccinated to or to feed their kids?
Okay. There's one very good news about that is ki COVID-19 virus does not get secreted in breast milk. This is very good news. So any patient who is newly mothered and has COVID, suppose if the patient is a little unstable, ICMR says you go for a temporary social distancing, right? The
Mm.
temporary social distancing is what you keep the baby away from mother for a little time, but you give the breast milk by using the breast pump or suctioning out, and then somebody else can give the breast milk to the baby. And whenever the mother is fine with the symptoms, she can continue with the breastfeed, right? And if the some of the ladies have this query, I am feeding my baby, can I get a vaccine? Yes, you can get a vaccine because no virus transmission is there inside the breast milk. Fine. So there is no antigen transmission inside the breast milk. So any patient who gets this COVID vaccine also,
Mm-hmm.
they can continue giving the breast milk, right? And they can even a pregnant female who has recently delivered and gets COVID, once the symptoms are good enough to handle the baby, she can
Mm-hmm.
continue with the breast milk.
And with respect to the COVID vaccine for lactating mothers, it's absolutely safe. So, what does the research say around this?
For what? COVID-19 vaccine for pregnant females or
Yes.
yeah, and according to earlier, there were things like they were having that if we take COVID vaccine, a lady cannot conceive or a pregnant female cannot take a COVID vaccine. No, but the now research says a pregnant female can take a COVID-19 vaccine. There is no issue, there is no harm because I've told you earlier also that it is not teratogenic, it is not causing any physical or mental disability in your baby. So you
Right.
go ahead with the COVID vaccination.
Right.
Second, the vaccine is not transmitting into the breast milk, so you can go ahead with lactation as well.
Okay. And is there any minimum timeline before which a new mother can take the vaccine? So, is there a time lag that they should have, or let's say within the next month itself?
No, 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 not these days. Actually, we can safely give the vaccine.
Okay. All right.
Issues
All
that I will always say there's a lot of difference between the people who have COVID after vaccine or who are having COVID without vaccine. Because they're with after taking the vaccine, the lung injury is very, very, very minimal. So go ahead with the vaccine. These all notions. That is why we have taken this to clear the notions that we should go for this vaccine, whatever, wherever.
right. Right. Okay. And I believe that a lot of institutions along with ICMR have also come up with guidelines for pregnant women. I believe PGI also has come up with some guidelines.
Yeah. Now the PGI has said with pregnant as well as non-pregnant. I will like to cover non-pregnant as well because there are lot many people who are not pregnant but still they have COVID and they are thinking, how will we if we have COVID? Yeah, we have to book a bed, then we have to go to hospital. No, COVID patient needs to be hospitalized. We should know that. Fine.
Right.
So how do we know that when we should go to the hospital and what and when we are home, what protocols we should
Hmm.
follow, right? So,
Right.
according to PGI, there are some home care protocols for COVID-19.
Hmm.
Right? They
Hmm.
have just come in this May to 2021, a few weeks back only. So, I will just try to tell you. First, if you have a fever and cough, then observe or record the fever.
Okay.
Recording the fever is very important. Then you record the pulse rate, you record the SpO2, that is oxygen saturation, 6 to 8 hourly. And you do it for first 1 to 3, 72 hours. Yani ki first 3 days you have to do this.
All right.
I'm going day according to days. I will tell you.
Mhm.
Then paracetamol 500 milligram every 4th to 6th hourly we can take if we have fever. Second main point comes for the hydration. Plenty of fluids you have to take. Warm fluids, gargles, steam inhalation, and nutritious diet.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
Second, when it is day, suppose you have persistent fever and cough even on day 3 and 5. So you increase the paracetamol to 650, like Dolo 650, 6th hourly.
Mm-hmm.
Every 6th hourly you can take 4 times. You can take, no? So you can take maximum of 3 grams.
Okay. All right.
Right? And for cough, you can use codeine or consider like ibuprofen or any painkiller. For like ibuprofen, that comes 400 milligram. You can take 2 times in a day for painkiller. Right?
All right.
And you can take, for acidity and all, you can take some H2 blocker like ranitidine. And for some person have that extreme nausea on 3rd and 5th day. For that, you can take anti-emetics like anti-vomiting drugs, domperidone and all.
Mhm.
Right?
Right.
So if on 5th, so here, then on 5th to 7th day, if you do not have any improvement, then you contact your physician that you do not have any control over fever, or your intake is poor, or you have vomiting, or you have diarrhea. See, if your saturation is more than 94%, you are not in that danger.
All
Right?
right.
And
All
if your respiration rate is less than 20, you are quite good. Again, I will tell, take that 6-minute walk test.
Mm-hmm.
Every 8 hours, yani ki 3 times in a day, you take that 6-minute test.
Right.
If your saturation does not fall,
Mm-hmm.
so you are good. That means your lungs are okay. Your respiration is okay. So
Right.
in that case, what you can do, you just lie prone. Prone means lie on your belly
Mm-hmm.
for 30 minutes, from 30 minutes to 2 hours. So it immediately increases your oxygen level. Fine.
Right. Right. Absolutely.
And if you need nowadays everybody has that inhaler at home, so you can use that little steroid budesonide, 250 microgram inside that inhaler twice a day, so it
Right.
works.
And that's
So if you're saturated,
that was through a study. Lancet also did a study on that.
yeah. So that is why I'm saying half of the patients are just panicking. Then we should go for a COVID bed. We should go for a COVID bed. Only if your saturation is not good, if your respiration is not good, as you check by that 6-minute walk test, if your BP is not good, only then you go for a hospital admission. Otherwise, please don't quarantine, right? So if your saturation, I'm again telling you, if your saturation falls below 94, if your respiration is more than 24, that means you are breathing quite often, right?
Mm-hmm.
If your systolic BP is less than 100, just go for it. Go for a hospital. Otherwise, just stay at home.
All right.
Now I will tell you the high risk people. High risk people are who are more than 60 years old, young but obese, who are hypertensive, diabetics, who are immunocompromised, like they have some cancer, or they have some cardiac disease, or they have some brain tumors, or they have kidney disease. So they are the high risk person. So they need a little more caution and more care. Not every person is same. But a normal person who doesn't have these high risk factors, and if they have maintained their vitals, so they can sit nicely at home.
And is a HRCT test mandatory for someone who is infected by COVID, or it's only that you have certain kind of symptoms that you go for that test, because that test itself is
No, HRCT is not for everyone. Just like I told you, if your respiration is good, that means your lungs are not affected. Then you should not go for HRCT.
okay.
If your SpO2 is maintained, it is more than 95, it is coming 95, 96, your respiration is less than 20. That means your lungs are doing well, right? So
Right.
you need not go for HRCT. HRCT means high resolution CT scan of chest जो हम करते हैं. That is for knowing the lung opacities, how the lung has gone. Fine. But for they are doing HRCT only for symptomatic patients, not for asymptomatic. So every COVID patient does not need HRCT.
Fair. I mean, one more piece of information that will be really useful is when when a COVID positivity report comes, the parameters that are given on that report, what exactly do they mean?
Like they see the lung has different lobes, right?
Right.
So they have different parameters. They have different opacities. It's a technical thing. I will just tell you. They give you a marks out of 25.
Right.
Fine. So and they divide it into mild, moderate, and severe. Fine. So if you have points less than 9 to 10, you are mild out of 25. If you have points from 11 to 16, 17, so you have moderate. Fine. So if you have more than 16, so you are severe. So again, HRCT has a different marks. According to 25 points, they count your lungs according to that.
All right. Okay. And how infectious the disease is then determined by the RT-PCR report.
Yeah, no, it is RT-PCR only tells you it is positive.
Okay.
Infectious, or how severity only tells you that how more infectious it is. It is fatal or not fatal. It's depending upon the symptoms of the patient, and it varies from person to person. That is why many people that recover well, many are having shortening of breath and they need oxygen. Not every person is in need of oxygen. Like the panic we are seeing these days in our country about oxygen, not every COVID patient needs oxygen. Not every. Again, the same thing, if you're maintaining your SpO2, if you're maintaining your respiratory rate, if you're maintaining your BP, so you know your things are going well, then you need not panic. Not every patient is in need of oxygen. Right. So there are certain things which are clinical signs that your COVID is worsening. One, your cough is not settling down, rather it is increasing. You are getting breathlessness, more breathlessness day by day. Your respiratory rate is increasing and your saturation is decreasing. Even then, your sensorium means you are becoming dizzy. You are not awakened. Your confusing state is increasing day by day. Your urinary output is decreasing. Right? So these are certain things which tell you that your symptoms are not going well. Then you need to see a physician.
This is all really good information, Doctor. Okay. So I think these are all the questions that I had for you today. Thank you very much for your time. We'll also share an email ID with our audience in case they want to ask any question later on. So thank you, Doctor.
Thank you so much
for your time.
Yeah.
Take care.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, bye.